invite all the speakers to their dais to have their seat. Kamini Gogri, Francisca Philip, Diwakar, Suman Bansal. Now, I would like to request Professor Mukulraj Mehta to welcome our speakers with garland and shawl. Kamini Gogri. Francisca Phillips. Diwakar. And Suman Bansal. Suman Bansal. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all the speakers for your presentation in this important seminar. Firstly, I would like to invite the first speaker, Kamini Gogri, having a topic on Jainism, a guide to philosophical counseling, a key to mental health. It is an important and interesting topic. So, ma'am, please.
Very good afternoon, one and all. My paper on Jainism, a guide to philosophical counseling, a key to mental health. Before beginning my paper, I would like to give my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Mukul Mehta and Dr. Anand Jain for inviting me here. Thank you so much. I would like to mention that we talk about spirituality, we talk about physical body, we talk about food habits, but there is an important gap in talking spirituality and in talking about uh, physical health. Okay, what is good for physical health, what is good for our spirituality, and that gap is about our emotional health. We rarely acknowledge the emotional health, what to do about it, how to understand our emotions, and how to transcend those emotions so that we can have a better life, a mental, emotional, balanced life. Because currently, looking at the current status, we want everything at a click of our hand. If the internet is not working, we get frustrated. If our desired things are not working, we get stressed out. There is depression. Why these things are happening only to me? You know, there's a lot of technological advancement. Today I have iPhone 14. If tomorrow iPhone 15, 16 comes, I want that because it gives me faster data, it gives me good pics. I'm worried about my self-image, I'm worried about my impression, I'm worried about my social media presence. This is all what we are interested. It's young and the old, all of us are interested in that. So just now also 10 mobile cameras are clicking pictures. Even I also requested somebody to click my picture. Yes, we all are interested in that. Nothing bad about it. But if we don't get likes, if we don't get comments, then we are frustrated. Then we are angry. Then all these things hamper us. And this is what is hampering the current generation all the more. All the more. Now, how to address it? What to address? What is the solution that Jainism gives? It is not only Jainism, but all the traditions gives. But because this seminar is on Jainism, I'm talking on from Jain point of view. It's as simple as that. As human beings, we this is a very famous thing that we live on physical level, we live on emotional level, we live on rational level, we live on uh, rather than using the word spirituality, I would use the term creative level. Okay, there are so many case studies. People are not interested in spirituality, but they're interested in creativity. I wouldn't separate the two. Let us talk about creativity. Okay, so in my paper, I have discussed these few points. Like all other living beings, human beings struggle for existence. But while the lower beings struggle for more or less blindly without any conscious plan and purpose and work by instincts, human being uses the superior gift of intellect to understand the conditions and meaning of the struggle and devise the plan and instruments to ensure success. So human beings wish to lead a life in the light of the knowledge of oneself and the world, taking into consideration not merely the immediate results of his actions, but even facing the far-reaching consequences. But the consequences and results are not in our hands. That's the challenge, how to face that. Desire for knowledge springs from the rational nature of human beings. Philosophy is an attempt to satisfy this reasonable desire. It is not, therefore, a luxury but a necessity. So, my key point is that today, yes, we are into either science studies, commerce studies, all these kinds of studies. But the human element of thinking, raising inquiry, studying and getting a plausible answers to deal with oneself and to deal with failures rather than how to achieve success is a key important thing which we must all of us learn. And that is what I want to stress in that's what I have written in my paper philosophical counseling, a key to mental health. It is spoken everywhere. Yes, success, profits. What about failures? How to deal with failures, how to deal with heartbreaks, how to deal with your financial losses, how to overcome and get that. It is easy to talk about karma theory. It is very easy. Tomorrow karma is slow. Sorry, I won't say that. Deal with it. Why are you only talking about karma theory? Somebody is committing suicide. At that point of time, I can't explain karma theory. I have to emotionally console him getting out of the situation and show him the path of life. That is important. Karma theory is very easy, but karma theory doesn't fulfill my stomach. Does it? No. I don't think about religion when I'm hungry. A person committing financial loss, at that time you can say, पूर्व जन्म का तुम्हारा पुण्य था तो पैसा था, अभी पाप गया तो पैसा गया. No. You have to show him or her the path how to get up and go. So for that, what is necessary? Knowledge is necessary. That I have to get up and go. Somebody has to guide at that level. You get up and this is what you do. Take a leap and go ahead. This is what the actual real life situations are. So, one need not feel bewildered by the variety and complexity of the worldly phenomena. After all, both from traditional wisdom and daily experience, we know that our own nature is not quite alien to the structure of the world. Positively speaking, the elements and forces that are out there in the world are also present in our body mind complex, enabling us to adjust ourselves to the environment. Old wine in the new bottle. How Jain principles are going to help us today, that is a challenge. Not only the natural conditions, but also social conditions of life, which we have instructive similarities between the two. This is not to underrate in any way the difference between the human ways of life all over the world. It is due to the variation, climatic conditions, partly due to distinctions of production-related history, tradition, culture. All of that builds up a human being. A Jain acting in India is different from a Jain acting in America. A Jain staying in Africa is different from a Jain acting in Australia. What does it connect? What are the differences? Is it the same thing? Is it a different thing? We have to analyze all these things and then talk about how best solutions we can get. Sorry? Yeah. So, Okay, 2 minutes more. So we talk about personality, we talk about how we live into broken pieces, and therefore what is necessary. We all talk about Krodh, Man, Maya, Lobh. Very easy. No Kashayas. Very easy. Yes, ye sab hai. But what is important is just to acknowledge the problem. First, let us acknowledge the problem, realistically speaking. Do a reality check of the problems. Secondly, checking our ego. That is a reality check. Third, know that this shall also pass. Fourth, remind ourselves that the truth has many angles and perspectives. Yes, we talk about Hanikantvad, but how do I practically apply? We all talk about equality of souls, but do we really acknowledge that some other Christian and some other Muslim and a Hindu and a Buddhist, they have different tradition, they have other traditions, other culture? Then humility produces positive results. To make the other person stronger by not telling them कि तेरा कर्म है इसलिए तूने भुगता, rather show them the strength how that person can get up and take the positive another step of the life where he or she can build up. And last one, not to be arrogant about your own karma, that oh मैं तो वेजिटेरियन खाना खाता हूँ और मैं तो ये करता हूँ और मैं तो ये करती हूँ. Rather acknowledge the other person's limitation and accept that okay, you have better things to do which I am not at. So look at other person's humility and then you learn how not you become egoistic by following your principles. There are many more things I have discussed, but due to time constraints, I have brought out the important points. So philosophical counseling is about how to grow your mindset. Psychological counseling is about after when the problems arise, but philosophical is like what you can say a preventive. How you improve your own thought level. Keep on studying, keep on learning new things, new languages, keep on accepting a creative angle. As many people you interact, as many different cultures you interact, as many opposite of your tradition and culture you interact, you will grow. And these are the few more points which I have elaborated. And of course, I will have given in my paper. And if at all you plan to publish it, it will I will contribute to it. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your very good paper. And now I can invite two questions on it. You. No, then, okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for thought-provoking, really, paper. And I can invite Francisca Philip for our paper, The Omniscience in Theist Philosophy like Vedanta versus in atheist philosophy like China. Yes, Francisca, continue.
Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you so much for everybody to being here, to listening, and me. Actually, I am very new into this. I am just recently getting the admission into Indian philosophy and religion. So I would start saying that I was studying so much about the Hindu philosophy, Hindu Dharma, and less about Jainism, but I would try my best to talk and to explain my way of seeing the Jainism. So I would start saying that all the time when I am talking about Jainism, I can see there it is the idea of the atheism. And there, what we can understand by atheism, they are saying that there is no idea of the one absolute or the idea of the deity. So they are not accepting the one truthness or the one particular knowledge. If we are talking about the Vedantic perspective, there we can see the theistic view, the idea of needed of the having the deities, having the knowledge of kind of Brahman, which is always one particular knowledge, and one particular absolute point of view. So I would like to compare this knowledge and saying that there the idea of the omniscience, which is actually in my paper, um, is very different in the theistic view compared with the atheistic view. In Jain philosophy, we are seeing the idea of the omniscience, which is called Kevala. I'm sorry for my language. So there we are talking about the knowledge, um, which everybody can achieve it. There it is the idea that the main knowledge or the absolutism which we are having in this particular philosophy, everybody can achieve it with dhyan or with the practice of meditation. On the other hand, we are having the Vedantic perspective, which is talking about the Brahmagyan or the idea of reaching to Brahman, reaching to the knowledge of Brahman or the knowledge of the self. Only that time you are having the final and the truth knowledge. So that is the idea of the omniscience. I would like to compare also the idea of the plurality in the Jain philosophy, which is talking about that the diversity and the individuality is very important. So we cannot negate the plurality to reaching to the main knowledge or to the omniscience. In Advaita Vedanta, we can see Shankaracharya how he is explaining about the idea of getting united with Brahman, the idea of the oneness, the idea of the monism, that it is the actual meaning of the omniscience. So I would like, due to the time, I would like to talk about the idea of adhyasa, which it is the wrong putting of the adjectives to something. In Advaita Vedanta, we are saying adhyasa is because of avidya or because of the ignorance and the ego. So we are saying we are reaching to the omniscience or the final true knowledge only in the moment in which we are diluted or we are cutting the idea of the avidya or the ego. And when we are reaching to a final knowledge which is called Brahman. In Jain philosophy, we are having the idea that adhyasa, it is kind of relative knowledge. That relative knowledge, it is real as well as unreal. So there we no need to totally dilute the idea of the avidya. We are accepting it and we are trying to understand it better and better. That is called omniscience. So we are having the idea of the individuality in Jainism, which is saying that is very important. The diversity and individuality, if it not exists in the world, it would be a disaster. That it's talking in Jainism. But in the Advaita Vedanta, we are saying that we need to understand the self by needing the understanding of Brahman. So there we are having the idea of totally deleting the idea of the plurality and finding the self in the Brahman. And how there we are finding the idea of Brahman? We need a deity. We need a form. In Advaita Vedanta, we are having the idea of Nirguna Brahman and Saguna Brahman. I would like to say that the omniscience, it is one of the adjective of Saguna Brahman. Saguna Brahman, I think everybody knows what it is. It is that the absolute which is having the form and which is having the qualities. So one of the qualities omniscience. So I would like to conclude that the relative knowledge in the Jain philosophy, it is quite needed and quite important for understanding the omniscience. And in Advaita philosophy, it's kind of false knowledge, which it has to be gone. So the idea of the omniscience are totally different in the theistic Advaita philosophy and atheistic philosophy of Jainism. Due to time, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Francisca, for your good paper. Now we can invite at least to questions on it? Anyone? Okay, Mike. Francisca.
Thank you, Francisca. It was really a wonderful paper and very short and very crispy. And I just want to know, you are comparing Advaita and Jaina philosophy. So, is there any relation between the error theory of Advaita and Jaina? Have you gone through that or not?
The
Error theory, Khyadivada.
Gyanvad.
Khyadivada.
No.
Anirvachaniya Khyadi is an theory of error.
Theory of
If you
error.
have not gone through, no problem. I'm just, while you are talking, then I'm just think about that. That's why I asked. Okay.
Thank you, Francisca. It's good. You can take your seat. Now we can go for the next speaker, Divakar, who is the research scholar of this department and working under Mukul Raj Mehta sir. Okay. Yes, he's going to present a paper on universal aspect of Jainism in special reference to ecological concern. Yes, it is again fantastic paper. Please go ahead.
Uh, Thank you, sir. I feel myself a fortunate one, and it's a matter of immense pleasure for me to be here, and I want to express my gratitude to my supervisor, sir, Mehta, sir, and Anand, sir, for giving me this opportunity to express my perception on the topic Jain way of life, a multidimensional approach. My topic is universal aspect of Jainism in a special reference with ecological concern. See, See, many of we all here assembled here for knowing and inculcating all the knowledge regarding Jainism. So, in my paper, I want to explore universal aspect of the Jainism in a special reference of ecological concern because I think it is a contemporary requirement for us to develop one bridging gap between all others nurturing aspect of the intellect, but I think universal aspect is the requirement, is a need of the hour. See, people make senses of people make sense of the complexities that surrounds them by carrying hundreds of the images and the stories in their mind about themselves, their society, and their biophysical environment. How each of these is structured, how each function and interrelationship a piece of their reality in simplified form. Together, the image and the stories from the person's worldview and peoples and society use their worldview to interpret information and formulate its actions. The images and the stories that societies have about the ecosystem are on the basis of the perception of the nature, which has a central role in shaping ecosystem, its interactions and perceptions. Basically, perception shapes the interpretation of the information when it enters a social system. From an ecosystem and perception shapes the decision making process that leads to the action affecting the ecosystem. Today, so many contemporary trends seem to be away from a ecologically sustainable development. But question is, how can we foster sustainable development in the face of these trends? These case studies, there are many case studies. We can start by showing how changes in the human social system change the human ecosystem of the interaction, and in other ways also that in turn have changed the ecosystem with determinantal consequences for a people can translate ecological ideas into concrete action to move human ecosystem interaction in healthier and more sustainable direction. So, although many people in the industrialized nation today do not consider themselves a religious in the sense of participating actively in an organized religion, everyone in fact has a belief that to deal with the same matters as organized religion do, and everyone participate in a social rights to affirm those beliefs. Self-actualization, materialism, and coherent worldviews associated with capitalism, free enterprise, economic growth, and the global economy have become a major component of our worldview. On connection with the nature and the natural world, independently of whether they participate in the organized religion. See, attitudes of a religion towards nature. Religion is a way in which societies use generation of accumulated wisdom to organize their values, perception, and behavior. It can have a major role in the society's perception of a relation that people have with one another and with the nature. Religion conveys a sense of awe and respect for things larger than ourselves. Religion beliefs are religion, its belief, we can say religious beliefs are the source of meaning. They tell us what is important in our life. Religion offer a moral code, guidelines about right and wrongs, and rules of behavior that that are particularly effective because they are reinforced in emotionally compelling belief, symbols, and rituals. The importance of such moral codes, guidelines about rights and wrongs, and rules of a behavior that are particularly effective because they are reinforced by emotionally compelling belief, symbols, and rituals. The importance of such moral codes for human environment interaction of such moral codes for a human environment interaction is the balance they promote not only between desires of each individual and the need of the others but also between short term desire and the long term consideration such as concern for the future generation. Different religions can have a significantly different perception about the relation but can have significantly different moral codes to guide a human interaction with the environment. The following account explore the attitude of a major religious religion towards nature without attempting through a description of each religion. While it is difficult to generalize about religion because they are complex, diverse, and highly changeable over times. Comparison can illustrate the different perception that the people and culture have about the environment. The common perception about nature is first, everything in nature is connected. Nature is being and perverse. Nature is fragile. Nature is durable. Nature is capricious. The belief system constitute a philosophical worldview, reverence for the nature, the principle of sanctity of life, biocentric equality, and cosmocentric attitude, which can be concerning the order of a nature and the place of a human in it. This is called the deep centric outlook on the nature. When one conceives of oneself, one relation to other living things, and the whole set of natural ecosystem on our planet in term of outlook. But Jainism has different 2 minutes. Okay. Okay, I am completing. Jainism has a different attitude. Jainism is a scheme preached by a Jainas poses religious philosophical discourse. Amazingly, it considers equal attention for environmental ethics, which of course is a ecocentric but is forwarded in a spiritual manner. As it is well proved that Jainism has given much attention towards animism, ahimsa, plays the key role to open different viewpoints of a Jainas spiritualistic ideologies of environmental ethics. It is well known that non-violence in the sense of a regard for a life as an environmental ethist belief is accepted as an ideal by almost all the religion of the world, but none pursue it as meticulously as Jainism, which prohibits not only the killing of human beings and animals having 5 senses with mind, but even of a plants alike organism having 1 sense only. To hurt 1 sense living plants like or any other creature, it's also considered to be an act of a violence or violence. Ahimsa. Himsa, basically ahimsa. The balance between nature, our own automatic behavior pattern, and our environment is perfect harmony. This is precisely what Eastern philosophy seeks to attain. Sir, we have any time? 1 minute. So, in as we have a shortage of time, I want to conclude with its scientific temper, logical perception, and ethical approach, Jain philosophy is one of a universal relevance in a contemporary world. Jain principle of a non-violence, non-egocentric outlook, ecological perspective, reverence for the life in all its form, and a vegetarianism and vegetarian culture can provide a healing touch to the manifold problem facing human society today in its relation with other living beings and the element of nature. The principles are not only of a containing validity but are particularly timely relevant in today's world also. When humanity is going on the wrong track of unbridled violence, and many will end up destroying the entire fabric of a rich and advanced civilization and culture built up through human ingenuity, inspiration, and a sense of faith and commitment. The deeply compassionate principle of a Jain religion and their practice can meaningfully help search for a sustained peace, safe environment, and sustainable development, curbing the violence and terrorism, fear and suspicion, hatred and hostility, inculcating the practice of restraint. I am just completing the practice of restraint over indiscriminate pursuit of a materialism, and above all serving more wholeheartedly the underprivileged, handicapped, and utterly deprived living beings. There is refreshingly welcome impact of a Jain philosophy beginning to make itself felt on the world community, on whosoever come in touch with it, be the follower, be the followers of a Jainism and its religious aspects. The realization is growing that its principle make Jain religion a religion of humanity. Human life is a small but passing phenomena in vast eternity of space and time and the grand complexion of an entire cosmos we find in Jainism. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dibakar, for your good paper. Seems practical in nature. Now we can invite two questions on it. Okay. You. Oh, okay. So thank you. Thank you, Dibakar. Now we have last speaker of the last day, Suman Bansala, understanding digital violence through the lens of Jainism. Please.
Please help me with this. शेयर करो स्टॉप
A very good evening to all the esteemed delegates. As we gather here today, I extend my warmest welcome to each one of you as I am the final presenter of the day today. I am delighted and honored to be here today to share my research insights on understanding digital violence through the lens of Jainism. Thank you for joining me in this presentation today. So, digital violence, whenever we hear this word, in fact, whosoever asked me about my topic, whenever I mention the word digital violence, they say, oh, wow, that's quite new. See, you are doing such a new topic. But I wonder, am I really doing a new topic? Is it something really new? No, I don't think so. It's just, as ma'am mentioned, the same old wine. packaged in a new bottle. I mean, it's just the normal violence which has taken a new shape in the modern day world and which has become digital violence. So friends, here today I'll talk about digital violence. A lot has been already talked, many researches has been done, many things have been conveyed, rules have been framed, policies have been done, but still it has not been curbed. Why? Nobody has talked about the religious aspect. Now, nobody has thought about the religious perspective on how we can understand it, on how we can curb it. So here, I am here today to throw light on digital violence through the lens of the deep philosophical insights which various Indian religions propagate. And since it is a conference which states Jain way of life, so I have taken Jainism as my core subject. So introducing my topic, I would like to say, to understand digital violence, one first needs to have deep understanding of violence itself. Ontologically speaking, violence is deep ingrained in human behavior since the dawn of civilization. Digital violence shares parallels with violence and has found a new breeding ground in the digital landscape. Various organizations have made efforts in understanding and addressing the causes, forms, and the management mechanism of digital violence. Such intellectual efforts do such intellectual efforts done to curb digital violence have proved not to be sufficiently adequate, as evident by the recurring digital violence in limitless proportion, making it an undeniable concern. This paper helps to understand digital violence through Jain religious insights and developing a sound mechanism on minimizing it. So, I'll start with desire, because desire is intrinsically attached to human behavior. Whatever we do, whatever in this world we do, is basically due to the desire to do it. So, what I would like to say is, desire is actually a mother which is giving birth to a child, and the child is nobody else. It's basically consumption. So, desire being a mother, giving birth to consumption. Whatever we are consuming, it's just because of the desire. Now, the second thing is, consumption is directly proportional to desires. It means that as and how the desires rise, the consumption rises. That's so simple, right? Whatever we consume, why do we consume? Because of the desires. Desires are limitless, ever growing in nature, and so does consumption. Now, as I mentioned already, desires are unlimited. But dear friends, means to satisfy these desires is really scarce. The law of economics comes here, the law of demand and supply. The demand is really high. I mean, the desire to consume so many things is so high, but the supply is really, really small. It means the means to satisfy these desires is really small. So here comes a gap. The demand is higher than the supply. And wherever there is a gap, there is a suffering attached to it, because whatever you want to consume, you're not able to consume it due to versatile reasons. Somebody may not be able to consume it due to personal reasons, somebody due to family obligations, maybe due to financial obligations. Whatever be the reason, that all the demand of humans can't be consumed, can't be supplied. So as in how this gap increases, the sufferings of human increase. And this suffering is, again, the gap which I've already talked about. Moving ahead, I would like to say, I just mentioned a case where the demand was more than supply. What if an individual means he's able to consume whatever he desires for? Will there be any suffering in that case? Okay, let's go ahead and look at it. When I am consuming something, the desire to consume more comes with it, okay? So I'll name it as passions. The same passions we talk in philosophy, in Jain philosophy: attachments, deceit, ego, and anger. These things automatically come in, as in when I'm consuming, the attachment, the rag to consume more. Or else if you are consuming, I am consuming whatever I want to consume, but when I see others consuming, I get that jealous feeling. Oh, iske paas ye hai, but I don't have that. So I want to consume more. So this results in more desires. Similarly, ego and deceit as well. And more desire again leads to sufferings. So sufferings has two reasons. Basically, when the demand is more and the supply is less. And secondly, if you're demanding and you are getting everything, still there will be sufferings. So sufferings can't be eradicated, it will be there. And the last point is sufferings only result in violence. Now, the next point I'd like to cover is digitalization and consumption in digitalized world. Traditional consumption plus internet-aided digitalization is equal to consumption to the power infinity. We all do understand the meaning of traditional consumption, as I've already mentioned before. Let us focus on the definition of internet-aided digitalization. It's nothing but everything, whatever is digitalized today and steered by the continuous steer of internet. So I'll include everything, maybe smartphones, laptops, internet, game consoles, everything. Now, the third point is consumption to the power infinity. How do we understand it? Let's try to understand it with some real-time data stats. So all these data which I have is based on reports of recognized entities, and the data corresponds to the end, like December till December 2022. So when I talk about data consumption here, data consumption per person per month was less than 1 GB in 2015. And in 2022, this data consumption per individual went as high as 20 GB. Can we imagine a 20% spike in mere 7 years? Okay. Then what do they expect? These are very intellectual people, and they say that in 2024, this might be 40 GB per person per month consumption, which will be 40 times more in 9 years when I'm comparing it with 2015. Do we understand what is the level of consumption? How hungry we are to consume? When it was less than 1 GB, we were fine with it. We were like, oh, we have internet. Oh, wow, I can Google everything. I can use all my social networks, social media accounts. When the data was 20 GB, then also we are happy today. See, today we are so happy we can surf on everything. But the data says it will be 40 GB. It means we are going to consume miraculously. So this is the level of data consumption. Now, let me come to the screen time. The screen time which per person is doing per day, it is 7.3 hours per day. Out of 24 hours there are, and out of 24 hours, 7.3 hours are being spent as screen time. This is for multiple purposes. Means you're sitting, there's an urge to check your phone multiple times. Do I have any notification? Is there a WhatsApp message? Do I have anything in my social media account? Is somebody trying to call me? If the phone is not ringing, then also you check. Oh, nobody is calling me. What's wrong? Is everything right? So that is how this happens. So this is screen time, which is actually, it has been defined as digital addiction. So this is basically digital addiction. In fact, I know many of us are aware of this term as well. 2 more minutes. That's it. Okay, so I'll move ahead on the slide. I'll talk about digital violence in short. As I've already told, that digital violence is nothing new. It's just a new avatar of the violence. Now I'll try to understand digital violence through the lens of Jainism. So I have tried to show it through two flowcharts. I have drawn figure 1, we can see a primitive paradigm which is drawn through the Jain perspective. So this is a Jain perspective, which I believe all of my friends who are present here and the delegates, you all are available of the primitive paradigm, which suggests about a soul, then a gross body, and how the desires are percepted through the 5 senses, and how the passions kashayas come into play, and then we do activities through various modes, thoughts, words, actions. And whenever any activity which is done by a physical body under the influence of passion is nothing. It's just sheer violence because the soul is free from any desires and soul is blissful in itself. So any activity which is done, any activity means thought, word, and done under the influence of kashaya is violence. Now religion says violence can be of two types. First is bhav himsa, and second is dravya himsa. So bhav himsa is basically the internal violence, and dravya himsa is basically the external violence. The bhav himsa happens every time a person undertakes an activity under the influence of passion. Bhav himsa, the internal violence, does take place. But the external violence, the dravya himsa, may or may not happen. It depends. It might happen, it might not happen. It can happen in a physical form, in sexual form, financial form, environmental form, or in political form. Okay, now let's move ahead to figure 2. The main point which I want to talk about today is digital paradigm. This is what I have understood of religion, and this is what intrigued me, and this is what I have attempted to show today to all of you. So, what I have done here today is we have a soul and then embodied by a physical body. Now, this body has desires because it is intrinsically attached to human nature, which is perceived by 5 senses. Now, because of the desires, we consume digital data. Now, this digital data which we consume goes ahead with undertaken of various activities in the form of thoughts, words, and actions. Means whenever we consume any digital data, random thoughts cross our mind simultaneously. Some thoughts may lead to action, some thoughts might not. Sometimes we just abuse, kitna ganda ad diya hai, types, and we move ahead. But there was a sense of violence in that. But sometimes we tend to comment on that particular post, and then the chain starts, the chain of hate speeches and the comments thereon. So, what is this? Finally, all of this, under the influence of passion, it is resulting in digital violence, which was the original violence in the primitive model. The violence which was in the violence in the primitive model has just been replaced by the digital violence in the new model. So, now this digital violence, which I'm talking about, again has 2 parts. First is the bhav himsa, and second is the dravya himsa. Bhav himsa happens with everything, be it thought, words, and action. It will happen. We can't remove it. But the dravya himsa, it might or might not happen. हो भी सकता है, नहीं भी. In the form of cyberbullying, financial frauds, hate speeches, pornography, sex texting. It may be, it may not be. So this is what I have tried to bring to light today to understand the framework of digital violence. What is digital violence? How can we understand it? So what I have understood from this is, if we go to P4 of my slide, we'll see that passion. Just 2 more minutes. P4 of this slide, the passions which is being generated inside a human body, it again leads the person to the stage of P2, the stage where there is desire. He again, under the influence of passion, starts to desire more. Again, the consumption of digital data, and again, generation of violence. So this becomes a perpetual circular motion wherein there is desire, there is consumption, and again there is passion. The circular motion which I have shown underneath. So now, this digital paradigm actually aims in decoding the process of origination of digital violence. Number 2, identify the main types of digital violence arising as a result of various activities undertaken or depending upon the consumption pattern, which I have broadly classified into 2 parts, the internal violence and the external violence. Number 3, I aim to construct a model of digital violence as per the religious insights on violence in Jainism. Now, the second last point before conclusion, I'd like to take, please allow me some more time. Challenges in modern approaches to mitigate digital violence and the relevance of religious insight. So as I already mentioned, many leading organizations, states have framed policies and frameworks to, punish people who are doing all these digital violence, the dravya himsa, whosoever is trying to do the Dravya Himsa. They're trying to punish them. So if I go to my this model, they are trying to focus on the Dravya Himsa pact. But my dear friends, please tell me, if we just focus on the Dravya Himsa part, will the violence go? Because Dravya Himsa in itself is may or may not happen. It is not deemed that this will happen. This is just a byproduct of the original violence. And what is the principal violence? Principal violence is the bhav himsa. If there is bhav himsa, dravya himsa might or might not happen. It means what is required, where a person is required to work is on bhav himsa. I'm not saying we shouldn't work on the dravya himsa, but this has to go parallelly, wherein more focus has to be shifted to the internal violence part. Bas ho gaya. Conclusion. Just the conclusion. Okay. Conclusion. I'm so thankful to him. He's trying to avoid me, but still he has been giving me time. Okay, thank you. The trilogy of desire, consumption, and passion constitute a perpetual circular cycle. Philosophical and psychological insights of Jainism reach the root cause of origin of digital violence. Digital paradigm model brings us face to face with the origin and solution to curb digital violence. Now the last point, right understanding of desires, mindful consumption, and reduction of internal violence are the three jewels to curb it, like the three jewels of Jainism, Samyak Darshan, Samyak Gyan, or Samyak Charitra. Thank you so much for giving me so much time and listening to me patiently. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your good paper. So it's a little technical in nature. So now I can invite only 2 questions on it. Okay. So now, thank you so much for your good paper. You presented well. And now the time is for summarization of this session. It will be by Professor S.P. Padma Prasad, eminent Professor S.P. Padma Prasad, sir. Please.
Remote, it seems. Thank you all. First of all, I assure you I won't take much time. I shall finish it before the clock touches 5:15. This session is a ladies dominated session. No problem. All presented papers in a very good manner, and they all had worked hard, and they had lots of points to tell us. But as for time restriction, they could not tell everything. But as the department wishes to publish all these papers in the form of a book, and their papers will be published, and their views and analysis will come. In the beginning, Miss Kamini Gogri, she talked about the guide to philosophical counseling as a key to mental health. She presented some important points in the specified time frame. It's all good. And she raised one important question that to some people who do not believe in karma philosophy, how can we convince them? Yes, it is a problem actually. Those who do not believe in karma theory, those who do not believe in papa or punya or existence of soul, it is not possible to convince them from the traditional way, by following the traditional way. A different technique has to be divided for that, has to be created, found out. I think Jaina stories can help a lot in this direction. Jains and Buddhists are used stories like any other in this country. So Jaina stories can be used. Jaina Katha Kosh, Bruhat Katha Kosh, and Aradhana, Karnataka Tika, etc., and Dravya Sangraha, not Dravya Sangraha, Punyasrava Katha Kosh. Like this, there are stories where through story interaction only they come to realize their own lacuna inside they have, and they have convinced themselves. So there is a story in Dharmamrita where the Jinapalita Muni and Jinadatta Shrestha, in between them 14 stories are exchanged. At the end, the real thief was that Shrestha's son himself. He comes and surrenders himself, and then he becomes a saint. So such things could be used, one thing. And then they suggested her, the concept of Latia is very well related to mental health also. It is the presentation of different personality levels in Jaina philosophical terms. So that also could be used. Secondly, Miss Francisco Philip, I am afraid, young lady, that I differ with the very heading or title of your paper. That is the omniscience in theist philosophy like Vedanta and atheist philosophy like Jain. Jainism is not an atheist philosophy. Atheist is one who doesn't believe in God. But Jaina concept of God is different. God, according to Jainism, is not the creator. That is all. We don't say that God doesn't exist. We only say that he is neither Srishtikarta, Stitikarta, or Layakarta. The creation of the world, etc., all happens according to the dravya, the interchanging of dravyas, like that. There is a lot of theory behind that. So, what notes you have made, that is right. But in that, the theory of concept of omniscience between Vedanta and Jainism, you can keep the title like that and continue. So that, and you told about Dvaita Vedanta, you told about Nirguna Brahma. There are other things like in the Nirguna Brahma, Saguna Brahma, both the concepts are there. In one of the poems of Surdas, Uddhav comes to convince the ladies, Gopikas in Vrindavan, and he says, you are worshipping Krishna, you are dedicated to him, but he is Saguna. So Nirguna Brahma is great, worship him. Then those Gopikas reply him, Uddhavji, ye to manmane ki baat. This is the point where the mind comforts itself. That is all. It cannot be decided by logic like that. And next, coming to Mr. Divakar, lot of things are told in Jaina philosophy about the ecological conservation, etc. According to Jaina philosophy, earth has life, stone has life, Agni has life, and even water has life. So the life is divided into 5 categories. Jivas are divided into 5 categories. According to Indriyas, they bear Ekendriya, Dvendriya. So from Ekendriya to Panchendriya, organic evolution theory is that only. So he has very clearly written that, but it could be extended. See, Pujya Padacharya, who was not only a saint and a philosopher, but also an Ayurvedic medical practitioner. He has created another branch of this treatment, that is Pushpa Ayurveda. Instead of using any other plant, without using any other plant, he concentrated only on pushpas, the flowers. Using only flowers, we can treat many diseases. In his Ayurvedic book, it is explained. And Jainism says, don't pluck even a leaf from the plant unnecessarily. It is bad. Only that much which is necessary for you, only you take that much only. It is from the point of view of ecological conservation. Then Parimita Parigraha is another concept which is the way to remove poverty, inequality, and also conserve the ecology. So there is one shloka in our Samayika Pata where we pray for excuse if we have hurt anybody in our daily routine, in our movements. Yekendriyadya yadi deva dehina pramadata sancharata itastataha kshata vibhinna milita nipidita tadastu mitya mama dushkrutam prabho. If I had hurt any ekendriya, etc. life, or if I have harmed them, then this bad deed of mine be excused. This is the prayer. This again, not only related to non-violence, it is also related to ecological conservation. Then I congratulate young Suman Bansal for her novel effort on a new topic. She did it wonderfully well, and such youngsters are our hopes for the carrying out of this knowledge to in future days. Our days are going out, we are fading, but such youngsters should come up, more opportunity should be provided, and I hope you will keep your efforts on and you will continue, and the way you presented, your logic was quite right. Your logic was quite right. The presentation you prepared, it is very good, and it is very impressive. That is why morning you only had it at the fag end of the day. And you see, in different types of digital fraud, you can add impersonation and posing one as a bank manager or as an IT official, etc., or sending the false links, etc. And you touched the basic point. Our desires are the root cause for that. So if desires are controlled, every the other thing could be controlled. But how to control desires? That itself is the difficult. That is why it is said in Bhagavad Gita, "Na jayetu kamena." So like that. So as we use more, you have told us, shown that in the equation. If desires are more and more, we go to fulfill desires, more and more sin we commit. So this is the Jaina way of presenting things. And so samyama, following panchanavratas, etc. These are the ways which Jaina philosophy has introduced to control the mind. If mind is controlled, desires can be controlled. If desires are controlled, violence can be controlled, fraud can be controlled, dishonesty can be controlled, everything could be controlled. So with all these words, I hope all these people in this session flourish in their future ventures and get fame as good scholars in their future life. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Sir Professor S.P. Padma Prasad, for your patience from the last session to this session. You are presented, prepare as well as chair the sessions and listening patiently. And thanks to all the speakers of the sessions. They have presented very well manner, and we learned some new ideas. So now the mic is over to Dr. Anand Jain.
We are very thankful to Dr. Rajiv Lochan Behra, very well convened today's session, all session definitely. And now very thankful to our chair, Professor Padma Prasad ji, and all the presentator of this session. So now it's time to tea break, another, and the finish and the end of the today's. So now tomorrow it will be again, we will be here at 9:30 a.m. So the chairperson we will announce tomorrow. The paper presentators names we are just going to announce Dr. Rajiv Lochan Behra, Dr. Mana Apurva Shah, Mr. Ganesh Tiwari, Mrs. Anita Yadav, and Mr. Rakesh. Thank you all of you. Welcome for the tea.
Thank you, one and all.